What's up, everybody, boys and girls? We have a very special show for you guys. We are live here in Atlanta. Well, I'm in Atlanta. Where you
I'm in
at?
Houston.
Well, you're in Houston. Well, together we make up Prism Gods, and we have a very special show for you guys. We love to talk to you about today's topic. And you know what today's topic is about, Mark?
I think it is anyone a collector anymore?
Is anybody a collector anymore?
I don't think so, man.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
we got too many pop-up dealers all over the world.
well, you know what? Let's just go and get to it, man. Let's start the show. Yes. We are here. We are in the building. We are literally 2 days away from the greatest show in the United States. I'll say.
In the world, man.
Not
the city, but the world, like Craig.
I like what you're thinking. Man. Well, we are here on Prism Guys, and we have a very special guest today. I met this guy. Well, actually, yeah, I'm trying to think if I even really met him in person. But, I mean, our interaction has always been good, man. We had a nice conversation a couple months ago, and it's been a really nice guy to me. And actually one of the sponsors for the show, PWCC's own Justin. And have you ever met him before, Mark?
Nope.
Well, you get a chance to meet this guy. He's very special, and hope you guys like what he has to talk about. He is an avid collector and a hobby, and I don't really want to spoil too much of it, but today's topic, I know Mark heated.
Yeah, you remember we don't really like talking in the morning because I give all the gems away in a casual conversation and don't leave much on the table for the shows. But I think I got enough left in the tank to talk about it.
Well, I hope so, man. Well, today's gonna be very special to us. We got our own Justin, and I think we're going to go. We should bring him out right now.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's go.
Okay, let's go and bring him out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we introduce you to Justin. How you doing? You want to introduce yourself? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no doubt. No, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it very much. My name is Justin Wickheiser. Before we get to all the fancy $100,000 credentials and all that good stuff, I love cards. I love slabs. Do collectors still exist? I mean, you may be looking at a T-Rex right here, or prehistoric dinosaur, but I'm a collector. I mean, I collect slabs. I collect cards, always have, always will, from the jump, from the cradle to the grave. So I'll just put myself out there right now. But thanks, guys, for having me on. And I work at PWCC as the partnership manager. And Raph was right, man. We met a couple months ago. Just good people find good people. It's just the way the world works, man. If you put yourself out there and you are out there doing the right things, looking to help and serve people or marketplaces, you're going to get connected up with other good people, right? So there's a reason that all the greatest criminals in the world, they work solo, okay? Nobody wanted to be around them. All the good guys, Batman, man, they got a whole squad. They got a whole league. So we'll call this right now the Prism God League. I'm formally.
Let's go. Man, that's so dope, man. I appreciate that, man. All the nice things people tend to say about me, I'm like, gosh, it's overwhelming at times, but I appreciate it.
And I'll say this, man. Honestly, we've done a few shows on the podcast. I don't know how many you've gotten to see, but we've had some pretty interesting folks on here, man, with some different takes and different perspectives. So really excited to meet you first and foremost, Justin. Mark, by the way, Kobe Collector 81, if you hadn't seen it before, but definitely excited, right? When Ralph told me that he had a partnership going with PWCC, I mean, I was like, wow, Ralph, you're big time. And I saw eBay posterized Culture Collision all over eBay's website, man. So I'm just riding on this man's coattails, man. So I get to meet all kinds of cool, interesting people. We keep it raw and uncut on this show. And just excited to have you a part of it for sure.
I appreciate that. You know what? Here's what I'll say. It's funny, right? Like, yeah, you're just like, Raph leveled up. And the thing is, he told me that Paul Wall was going to be on the show. And that I was like, I was like, okay, cool. I'll do it if Paul Ball's going to be there, man. Houston's finest, got the internet going nuts. But
Yeah.
apparently that was just a bait and switch, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
Oh man, hey man, well,
No.
sorry to disappoint, man, but I guarantee you, man, we're gonna have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I will say this, Justin. I mean, this is the birthplace of Culture Collision. This literally is the birthplace. Like Mark said, a lot of great guests who were actually sponsors for the first couple shows. Well, for the first show came from Prism Guides. Like we had Alt on here, we had Collectibles on here, so we were able to build relationships that way. And we talked about, because like I said, we wanted to talk about education, right? We wanted to talk about what's fractional investment? Because at the time, me and Mark was like, what's fractional investment? What was it? We literally was like, what's fractional investment, man? Let me go ahead and look it up. So I found Collectible, and I literally reached out to him saying, can you send somebody to my podcast? Because we want to talk about fractional investment, because I have no clue what it is. And that's how, that's how great things happen, man. I mean, but because we're all learning together. That's the good thing about the hobby is, if you're studying, you're doing your job, your due diligence, you're going to learn, and you're going to meet new people and all these new ideas, especially being a new collector, right? The new collectors, we have more options, and this is what it's all about.
But he's a dinosaur, though, man. That's what he mentioned. So this new school stuff, we don't know if it's going to apply to him, but we have 20 questions to figure that out, huh?
Woo. Well, that's a later part of our show. Justin, why don't you talk to us a little bit more about what you do at PWCC, and talk to us a little bit more about you as a collector. Are you a collector?
Yeah, so that's what I was mentioning. Absolutely. So that's what I was referencing early on when I was saying maybe I'm a T-Rex. You're right. Maybe I'm a Brontosaurus. I don't know, but I guess if the posed question is, do collectors still exist in this hobby? I will say that they do, and I would maybe rebuttal or reverse that question and say, are the collectors today? What era are today's collectors from? So I've been in this hobby for 20 years, and so you are right that there is a barrier to entry in the market right now to become a collector with some of the, I'll call it mid to upper level tier products and items. Absolutely. Now there's a whole secondary level or an entry level that allows people to collect as well. But man, nobody wants the base card, right? Everybody wants the super
That's the base card.
Want that rare
Black Prism or that Midnight RPA or that gold. And so, but that's part of the journey. That's part of the journey that I think people in this I want everything right now world, and I'm included in that, right? That mindset, that's part of the journey that's cool, where if you start and you stack up, you can get to that 101 Black Prism. Raphael and I talk about this all the time. I'm sure that you both do as well. You can get to that gold. You can get to whatever your grail is within your hobby. So the barrier to entry, it is more expensive. And with that being said, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, throughout the course of this podcast, or this live stream. But that is, what does that do to overall market trends? How does that? It comes down to basic economics, because it's not that the supply is not there and the demand is not there. They're there, but now there's different market factors and different people within the market that are buying those. And I think that's really what the rub is, maybe, or the question in general. It's like, can the everyday average person be a collector? Maybe. I'll tease you. Talk about what you want to collect. How about that?
The problem that I shoot myself into, right, is the stuff that I like is considered vintage now, right? So I hear people talk all the time. Like, I was a huge Kobe guy, so hence the name. So 1996, that's 26 years ago. So when I look at that stuff, to me, it's like I'm trapped in time. That doesn't seem vintage to me, but I hear people say, man, that's a nice vintage you have. And I'm like, Kobe? Rookie cards? That's not vintage. And it feels like it was yesterday, right? So that's the taste that I have. But the price tag on that stuff, depending on what you're looking at, is through the roof, right? Where those refractors at that time were like $50. You can't pick up a Kobe refractor less than $1,500, $2,000, depending on which one you're picking up. So that's where I find myself at, right, in that vintage world, man. I feel like I'm sick sipping on some old vintage wine sometimes.
Wow, that's crazy. Today's topic is really interesting, because I feel like it's it's a place where I'm very torn. I'm torn because I do this to make a living, right? I do this for the love. It started off for the love, right? We all love it. But then when numbers get to like real numbers, right? Because when you're growing up as a kid, who knew that a card from 20 years ago would be worth a couple $1 million? Like none of us had that hindsight. And if we did, I mean, did we keep it? I mean, are we still a collector at that point? Is it like, it's something you say, you know what, man, I got to sell this car because it's $5 million. I got to sell it. It's like, I mean, you know, I didn't expect it to go this far, but it's where it is now. I kind of have to almost reverse engineer it personally, right? Where because I'm a short-term investor and I do long-term investments as well, where I feel like I'm a collector and I love certain things. Like I love the exquisites. I love the superfractors. I love the black 101s. I love these things, right? Those extravagant things, the golds. But when you come into the industry, it makes it really hard when the numbers start off out here and you're like, well, how do I get there? And I think the one thing that's happening right now is either A, people are struggling trying to get there by churning and burning to get to the stuff that they really want to get to, or are they attracted to these high numbers and they're just like, you know what? I can't hold anything. I got to sell everything. It doesn't make any sense to keep anything. I'm collecting money. What do you guys think of that?
Well, I mean, once you reach your plateau, man, it's a long way to back down to the bottom, right? But man, look, I mean, we say it all the time, right? There's an easy way to get in trouble in this hobby, and that's trying to hop into a lane that's way too fast for you, right? You pick up you put all your marbles in one little box. You spend your life savings, your $20,000, if you have that on one card. And then you're finding yourself in a situation where it's like, well, rent's due, lights are due. And then you end up losing money because you got to sell it for less than what the cap is or the market value is. And that was the whole basis of the question today. I pulled a card the other day and I posted it online. And I mean, I think the comps were like 2,000, 2,500 on a new Wander Franco SSP. And everyone wanted it like $1,600, right? And there was like multiple comps at $2,500. So I started, you know, and that was the way I started the conversation with Ralph this morning was, when did we get so many mini dealers, right? Where you don't think it's a good deal unless you're getting 60% off, right? I remember back in the day, if you wanted a card bad enough where you didn't mind paying over comps for a card, right? But now we have all these pop-up dealers hopping up all the place that really water down the market. And now it's like everywhere you look on Facebook, everywhere you look on Instagram, everybody's like, I'll buy stuff at 75 to 80% off comps, right? So, I mean, if you're hard up for money, maybe you do that, right? Maybe you sell it at that. Now you're establishing a new norm. But realistically, the collector in me always says, like, I don't mind if the card lasts sold for $2,500. I don't mind paying that for the card, right? But I'm not gonna pay. I wouldn't succumb to someone all the time and say 80%. Of course, we want to make the most bang for our buck, but at what point is it more a business more than collecting? You know, and I grew up in the T-Rex age as well, where it was more of a hobby for collectors more so than a big business as it is today.
Interesting.
No, I think you make some really good points there. You are seeing a convergence in this hobby and have for the last couple of years now, and I think it mirrors our modern day economic situation here in the United States of America. Is that you are seeing groups of people that are now looking for secondary supplementary incomes, and so those people come into the hobby, and they say, you know what? This is cool. This is a heck of a lot cooler than actually day trading stocks.
Yep.
Because follow what Ja's going to do. I can follow Joe Burrow. I can make a play on some of these cards. It's kind of cool. And then there's the gamification process of a grading. And so you've got the flipper, and I'll call it maybe the day trader investor that doesn't have that emotional attachment, because people ultimately don't buy things with logic. They buy things emotionally. Just think about anything that you've bought at some point, whether on your own or through a salesperson. My belief is that a large portion of that purchasing decision was based upon an emotional desire that you had, right? Same thing. That's what's so cool about this hobby, that you can go in and you can make a play. And let's say you got a pot of 20K, was a really good point. And you go, you know what? I believe in Joe Burrow. I believe in what he's going to do. I believe that these factors indicate that this card is going to perform as an alternative asset.
Yep.
Whether it's raw or graded, maybe on the raw standpoint, you're like, I'm going to get a PSA 10 on this, or BGS 9.5 Quad Plus. That you're not going to get a black label. Those don't exist. Those died with the Tyrannosaurus Rexes a long time ago. But let's say shout out to, I guess, to SGC too. They're doing big things in the auction these days as well. I mean, that board now performing the BGS kind of blew my mind. But so let's say that's your play. Maybe your play then isn't that. Maybe you buy something slabbed up already and you go, you know what, I want to take this $5,000 and allocate this towards him. I believe in his performance. To me, we're experiencing this where you've got, again, this investor, I'll call it flipper. You've got, they're going to get a little bit of the collector in them. I just don't believe, you'll never convince me that if you have slabs and these modern day works of art in your hands, that you won't partially fall in love with them. And your secondary market is all the grails that sell, the cards that really, many of us have been doing this for a long time, chase. That's where my frustration comes in, because now you have, of course, what you have in our country in general, you've got corporations that are purchasing everything, or large buying institutions and groups. Yep. And it's strategically smart. It really mirrors and parallels the home market in a lot of different ways. Yep. It's the largest buyers of individual real estate, single family residences right now are corporations. And because they're making the play within that infrastructure. So people are pooling their money to be able to engage in and allocate or bring liquidity in these funds to buy some of these larger grails. They see it as investment. Then it continues to make it more rare and more unique. And so then you have this question posed: are there really any collectors anymore? Well, yes, at heart. The end of my thesis is this. I'll call my opening statement as this.
He's a lawyer. He's a lawyer.
It's a court of public opinion, man.
Yes, you have to have some sort of emotional attachment to do this for longer than 12 months. You may like the gamification, and the other thing we brought in is the cross of the gambling aspect into this. When you can take gambling is, I don't even know what the market cap on that is, but it's enormous. And so if I can gamble on a card and maybe make a 5X instead of lose my entire bet, and I get to watch the game and enjoy it, why wouldn't I do that?
100%.
Yeah, I find myself most of the time, right? Because I play a lot of fantasy football, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of dabble in some of the other fantasy sports, but if a guy wins me the Super Bowl and we're talking, $3-4 grand at a time, depending on what the buy-in is for the league, I find myself buying the cards of the guy who won me that Super Bowl, right? So this year I bought up a lot of Cooper Kupp, right? A lot of Deebo Samuel. Now, those two guys made me a whole bunch of money this year on fantasy football. So you follow those trends, you follow those ups and downs, and I think that play in itself helps the market and build and thrive. And we know the stock market, ups and downs and the ebbs and flows because of some of these fantasy sports that started to get really popular over the last few years.
Very interesting points, guys. Very interesting points.
I mean, I'm gonna go back to a collector, man. I'm a group subber, man. I'm an authorized PSA dealer, so I get in a lot of cards from all over the country, all over the world, actually, and I get to see a lot of rare cards. So I have a buddy out in the Philippines. I don't know if you follow his Instagram pages. Exquisite Collector, right? He just sent me a complete 2008 Exquisite set with the rookies complete. So I'm going to send that over to PSA to get it graded in the next couple of weeks. I got to get it all prepped up and ready to go. But he's a collector, right? He also sent me, and I don't know if you're familiar with this set at all, right? Or this guy, right? But this is actually an 03 Ultimate Collection Michael Jordan 101, right? So this guy actually, he doesn't sell anything, right? So he'll send me this kind of stuff because he wants to slab it. Here goes a Steph Curry that he sent me, and it's out of 5, right? It's a 5 of 5, and this is probably one of my favorite cards he sent me in the whole collection. It's a Credentials Kobe Bryant, and you're a T-Rex, so you're gonna know a lot of these cards. You can see them coming through, right?
That's something. He's no, you're right.
And then more 101s, right? So here goes a couple LeBrons, and here goes another Jordan 101 that he sent me. So there's some collectors out, but I think you're going to find more people who've been in it a lot longer, more on the collector side than a lot of the newer collectors that are coming in that may have come over from the sneaker side or may have came over from a big business. They're more looking to turn their X's exponentially. And so there's a lot of people in this hobby, which makes it so great, right? You can talk to people from all walks of life. I think that's pretty cool as well. And for me, one of the greatest things that I love about subbing is that I get to see these cards that A, I haven't probably seen in 20 years. And then B, is cards that probably have been sitting away in a dark place for a long time that haven't been made public to the world, man. So once I get done prepping them and getting ready for PSA, I'll post some stuff up on my Instagram, man. But because I know a lot of people are interested in seeing some of these cards because you'll never see them.
Okay. I think I have a question for both of you guys. I mean, I think this is a good question for both of you guys. And I think this is important for the people that are listening and watching the show. Because here's the thing, and I'm gonna tell you what I tell the people that I know who are in it first, and then I'll let you kind of make your judgment from there. I always tell people that are new in the hobby that you don't really know what's good yet. So the theory behind that really is you've never seen Exquisite, you've never probably held or seen some of the things that the dinosaurs would say they've seen and they've held in their hands. And then now what you're getting to look for is really like national treasures. And you're talking about like stuff that we don't know if it's player worn. We don't, Panini's not even verifying where the stuff is coming from, so, and I don't want to go into that politics too deeply, but the reality is, you look on the back of that Exquisite patch and patch auto, and it says game worn, Michael Jordan game player worn, that's worn in an actual game autograph on card. It changes the dynamics of things of where you like what you want to really collect. When I see those things, I get excited. So I wanted to know from you guys, how does a new person become a collector in today's market? And what do you think, what do you guys see?
I'd like to take the first
go ahead.
First cross-examination on this particular question, because I would rebuke that for a couple different reasons. Because to me, again, I'll go back to this emotional buying aspect. If you're just talking monetary, if you're just talking pure investment, then I agree with you 100%. But to me, it's also what you have that emotional attachment to. A gentleman in the chat put that he picked up his first big boy card, which I agree. It's a sweet card. A 2020 Optic Teal Velocity Herbert PSA 10, super dope card. Yeah. I don't know this individual at all, but maybe this person's 23, 24 years old. They started collecting, they started watching Herbert, and they go, Herbert's a G. I love the way that he plays the game. I like his persona. I like his brand. For me, an 86 Fleer PSA 10 Clyde Drexler card is I grew up watching Clyde. I love Clyde. Another H-Town, man. Another H-Town connection. Right?
There you go.
Yeah, the barbecue joint here, man. It's actually really good too.
Clyde's the truth, man. Like he just a gentleman of a human being, and so to me, that's a grail. Like that's a total grail for me. Now, yeah. I think the Herbert's probably worth more than my Clyde. Candidly, yeah. It shouldn't be, but subject for another topic at another time. But that's the case. Now, if you're talking about those cornerstone pieces within the hobby, 52 Topps mantle, right? You're talking about Topps Walter Payton rookie, or you're speaking on, as you said, 0304 limited logos, Jordan, Kobe, whoever it may be. Those are museum-worthy artifacts, I would argue, and not.
They are artifacts, man. I don't know where you're going to dig them up from, man, but if you do, they don't come around too often.
Puerto Rico seemed to spit out some of them and been dug up there at one point in time several years ago. So it's for
that's Exquisite 613's collection, though, man. When he got out of trading cards and went into memorabilia, man, his whole collection went up to auction. And I know Shine got a lot of it, but Ken also got his pick of the litter as well.
Well, let me share another artifact with you, because this is a story. A colleague of mine, Jesse Craig, was at the National this last year. And a gentleman, nondescript gentleman, came by the booth and he said, hey, in a shoebox, here are these 0809 Topps Chromes cards I had. I collected, and I remember ripping 0809 Topps Chrome. It was dope, but like the hobby was dead at that time. I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
It was on life support. And so he brought them forth, and he had a number of different gold refractors, orange refractors. Ended up getting that Kobe gold refractor graded at the National, graded out of PSA 10, and then it sold for $340K. WCC platform premier auction. Right, just north of 300. Don't quote me on 340. Maybe it's 322 with hammer price. But those artifacts, those I'll call them the under the bed shoebox treasures, they do exist, and I think we are going to continue to see more of them because
I agree.
We've got a whole generation of either baby boomers or other people that are going to either be moving to long-term care facilities. Maybe they'll be, passing, and people are going to go through there. So you're going to find some artifacts here and there. I think
I agree.
I think in the car market, right, in the automobile industry, them are called barnyard finds, right? And so every now and then you get a gem that escaped the earths, right, the Mother Nature and the elements, and you'll find them. I actually got a call. I get calls from all over the country, but I have a local guy that's down the street, maybe 30 minutes away. They called me and they said, "Hey, I've been collecting for the last 40 years, and I don't know what I have. Would you mind coming over and taking a look at what I have?" So I'm pretty excited about doing that tomorrow, and maybe we'll uncover some barnyard finds through that too, man. Because nowadays, like you said, never would I ever envision that a Jordan exquisite card would sell for $200,000-$300,000. And I think I've seen some sell for like $700,000-$800,000 in some cases, but never in my mind would I ever think of that. And I think that some of the collectors trapped in that era, in that zone, they see some of the prices today and they're like, who would ever pay those prices, right? Because them Jordan cards were going for like $1,000, $1,500. And of course, if we had a time machine and we went back and picked all of them up, we'd be doing pretty good right now. But I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. And like even me, like when I got out of the hobby for like 7 years after I sold my collection, I came back and I saw some of the prices and I'm like, hey, I had that. Hey, I had that. And I think I sold it for like $500 or something at the time, and now it's worth like $50,000. It's just like, man, if I would have kept that, right? If I would have kept it, but nobody knew. I can guarantee you, nobody knew that the hobby would be what it is today, or else, they probably keep some of the cards that they had.
100%.
What was that guy's story he had? And sorry, I knew you were about to say something, but I think he bought a logo man of Giannis for like $50,000. And then it sold for like $3.5 million. Like, if you would have known that was going to happen, I'm pretty sure he would have held on to the card.
Well, so let's talk about that for a moment, because it's a really good point. That's why, again, this is the greatest hobby in the world. Like, no one's ever going to convince me otherwise, because it's part treasure hunter, part gambler, part playboy, part investor. I love that meme that Lamine James put out, like, I only date cardboard millionaires. I don't know if you remember that one or not, but I just love that. I giggle at that every time I see it. It's got the lonely guy in the corner, because, I mean, you're right. A lot of the people who've been collecting, they're cardboard millionaires, not by anything that they would ever imagine, just because they loved it. And that's why, again, I'll go back to barrier to entry. You could still, and we recently had, I get the benefit of seeing all these sales take place, obviously, right, within the platform. So it's really, my head still spins, when I'm there. I'm like, man. And then partly I, go to my car and I cry out in the parking lot and be like, I wish I would have bought that when I saw it. Okay, small tears only. But, there was a private sale took place for the number to 5 optic gold vinyl Burrow of, I think, $140,000. And you could have bought that card for, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. I saw some of them, as well as base golds on eBay at one point in time. So,
remind him about Prism Golds.
Oh man, we won't even go there. We'll move on and pass it. But I don't like I said, I don't like to bring up PTSD, because I have enough of it myself with some items that I sold. But so there is a barrier to entry that people can still reach. They can invest to it. And I do live by this mantra, like, life is a daring adventure, or it's nothing at all. So if you love cards and you want to invest into some cards and that's your thing, and do what you love, because you'll find a way to make it, or guess what? it won't work out, and you'll still sleep and be okay at night. If I went and spent $50,000 on a bunch of stocks and I lost them, for me, this is for Justin Wickheiser personally, I would be madder than hell. I'd be like, I didn't know anything about their portfolio, their operating strategy.
Yep.
To me, this market is still in a very infantile stage.
100%.
Because there is product, there's supply, there's lots of demand, and then you, like I said, all the other crossover items. I think the velocity of money standpoint, though, is going to continue to suffer a little bit as grading is held up, because you guys both know, I mean, the grading aspect of this back in the day used to be the most fun thing. I couldn't wait to get my PSA packet back and rip that thing open and see how many cards I gemmed, and how many they did me wrong, and curse at the grader for banging up a card I thought that was perfect, or Jim meant. I know everybody has those stories, but if we can somehow speed up the velocity of getting these cards graded and getting them into the marketplace, it's going to do a lot. That hurt us over the last couple of years. What are your guys' thoughts around that?
I think even with the economy, right? I guess it's price point of the grading, right? You can always spend a lot of money and get them back quicker, right? But obviously for the everyday consumer, they don't have $100, $200, $300 to fork out to get a card back in less than a month. But I do think that them taking a couple steps back to take 5 steps forward is really going to benefit them in the long run. And if they stay true to their 90-day guarantee on their economy orders, I think you'll start to see the hobby coming back into fruition, right? A lot of people were busting a lot of wax in hopes that they could PSA 10 a card in a relatively quick amount of time and then turn that money over, right? I mean, there was a lot of people who had those business ideas to turn money over.
100%. 100%. I agree with both of you guys. I mean, honestly, it's some other things I kind of was thinking about as well while you guys were kind of analyzing what was going on. But you said something, Justin, that really kind of struck me a little bit. And when you talk about the hobby being an infant stage, right? There's a lot to go with that. I mean, I think we have not seen as many collectors or investors in the hobby as we're probably going to see in the near future, because all these different companies are coming out with all these different solutions and all these ways to become more engaging. I mean, take something as simple as I hate to bring up Culture Collision, but I'm gonna say Culture Collision because I always talk about this as being like a gateway, and it's not necessarily, and I use it as an example because if you attract different people, then you'll add more people to the circle, right? To the pot, and you'll start to add more people, and people will become like, oh, this is cool. I'm making money. Okay, cool. And then you'll start getting nice cards, and they're like, okay, the desire for that nice card is going to be there. So for that, like we talked about earlier, you'll start to become the collectors eventually, right? I don't think it's something you kind of just like go cold turkey and say, I'm not going to do cards anymore. I think it's one of those things, you do it, you like it, you enjoy it. And then now it's the camaraderie, right? I travel to different shows and I go hang out with my friends. We get have a good time. We go stay in a hotel and then we go to the show. We make a little bit of money, and it's really fun. So that's one of the things that I enjoy personally, and I think a lot of the new collectors that are in the hobby now, that's what they like. I mean, they like to go to different cities. I get to go to Atlanta. I get to go to Boston. I get to go to LA. I get to go to Arizona. And that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty fun.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I think if you're looking at a diversification strategy for anybody today, whether you're just, you're in college or you're high school, or you're somebody that's been working for a corporation, or you own your own business, right? You want to have a couple different things. You want to be able to have diversification in something you love like this, your hobby, where you're able to make some moves, right? You want a real estate investment. You want to maybe a more traditional stock investment.
Yep.
And then I'll go back to, again, the cards as the alternative investment. There's a lot of utility with cards, and people like you that are innovating with Culture Collision and all these other platforms that are fractionalizing and selling and marketing. This is all good for this alternative investment, because I do believe this at the core of everything. People that are, I'll say, our age, because I think we're probably all about
yeah.
We may have been involved somewhat in the 08-09 financial crisis, but for even younger people,
I was unemployed.
I
was unemployed for a whole year during the recession, man.
I perfect point. And so people that saw what took place with the financial markets there, I believe, in my own mind, I said this, I don't want to do what my parents did and put everything within the financial marketplace. I want to be involved in alternative assets. And those alternative assets have now borne a lot of fruit for people, whether you're looking at sports cards, NFTs, other collectibles. They are doing really, really well, and they're performing better often than many of the S&P index funds or stocks. And so people look at that and they go, okay, I want it. And now it's become not just like this radical thing, it's become a part of people's portfolio. So you'll see the diversification of it, and it is not going to restrict and go back, in my personal opinion.
Man.
What is your thought on athletes collecting?
I mean, I think it's the ultimate vanity move. I would do it. I would collect all the Kaiser PSA 10, slabs I could get. I think it's cool. And for me, really, that's kind of tongue in cheek. Aside from that, if you are in that income bracket, you get to invest in these alternative assets. And we see it really catching fire right now because there's a lot of hype around it and trends. But again, I think you'll see them want to build their brand and their portfolio more. I have a core belief, once it gets in your hands, once one of these slabs gets in your hands, you touch it and you love it. These guys didn't grow up on, and neither did I, on Stephen Pollock paintings, right? I bet Pollock, when he was flinging that paintbrush at a wall, stuff would be going for $100 million. Now I'm at the Met and I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
I've always been a believer in slab museums. I think at some point we will have slab museums because these
see the exquisite collection.
I think that's called the National Convention, and it's going to be Culture Collision. You're going to see a museum there as well.
Hopefully,
I mean, look, we mentioned this. Look, we mentioned the hobby having a gambling aspect to it, right? So wouldn't the players, if they're buying their own cars, essentially be gambling on themselves?
Isn't that dope that they're betting on their own performance, man? They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly.
If I'm Trey, I'm like, you know what? I'm buying all my PSA 10 prisms, all variations, all types. And guess what? I'm going to go out and put out buckets. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If I knew that, honestly, I'll tell you right now, I would buy every one of their cards I could, because now they're invested in that marketplace to go do it. You don't think by them launching their own NFT lines and platforms, they're doing the same exact thing? They're saying, hey, NFT is cool, thus my brand is going to perform in whatever marketplace it's in. So yeah, sure, why not? Gambling's legal everywhere now. I think that's
not for Pete Rose, man. He's still not in the Hall of Fame, you know? I mean, at some point you gotta let the guy in, man. And I don't like to pull Band-Aids off, but there shouldn't be a reason why Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame, and not to mention Roger and Barry, who I think is the greatest hitter of our time. But I mean, neither here nor there, man. We digress a little bit.
Hey, man, listen, I agree with you. I'm all about that. So, I hear actually Pete's a great guy. I've never met him personally, but Pete Rose for Hall of Fame. There you go. There's my plug.
There you go. I mean,
hey, you know, one thing that you don't ever want to do, obviously I use the platform, but PwC Research Marketplace, right? Don't ever go through there if you're feeling some kind of nostalgia or have a couple of drinks in you, man, because you're going to see what those exquisite cars sold for 3 years ago, because you guys have an extensive database on that marketplace research. And you can see what an exquisite car sold 10 years ago as opposed to what's it selling now. And I mean, you'll find yourself in tears if you go back too far.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up, because before joining, this tells you how far this hobby's evolved, at least in my own personal situation, is that I never thought I could do this full time. I managed law firms for the last 14 years of my career. I have an MBA from Boston University. And so I just thought that, you know, that would never be an opportunity for me to make the kind of money that I want to make, and to have the lifestyle and have the support of my family. And just shows you this hobby in general, how much it's evolved, where, I got a few stripes on my jacket, and I'm there with a bunch of really seasoned, highly qualified professional people. We've got innovators and entrepreneurs like you guys in the hobby, in the marketplace. You got all these other marketplaces popping up. And so it's just, man, yes, I go and look at those myself, and you should hear the conversation around the halls, because we'll sell one off and be like, hey, I think that was mine. And I'm like, I can't hear those every day, because you're right. They go on every day. Hey, I think that one was mine, and it's like a massive record breaking sale. But here's the other thing. If you aren't experiencing that, because I have, that means that you've only got the ability to keep going up, because you should have those stories. You should have those stories where you say, hey, that's mine, that's sold, and I sold it for this amount. Because that means that this hobby's growing, more people are entering it, more people love it, and then there's more opportunity for all of us. I mean, that's
100%.
kind of get excited. So I was just looking at we've got this weekly auction that I do, this weekly auction show around right now, which is a lot of fun. Bring on smart people that know cards and that love them. And I was just looking in there, and there was this Midnight RPA, Lamar Jackson there. I think it was a BGS 9. And this is where I was getting all excited. I was like, look at what everything else is selling for right now compared to Lamar Jackson. MVP, the dude is a video game. As a matter of fact, I mean, I would say the closest comparison is Michael Vick, who will be at Culture Collision. So I hear, so rumors say. I'm like,
He might do a bait and switch again, man. He might do a bait and switch again.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's Marcus. It was Marcus.
Oh, it was Marcus. I like Marcus too. Marcus was dope too. But with Michael Vick, when I remember Michael Vick playing, I was like, I gotta have that guy's cards.
Yeah.
Like, he is a next level iteration of like what this sport is going to be in the future. So just to tie back into Lamar Jackson and the hobby and the marketplace, you can find buys like that. And you say you buy that card for 10 grand, he does well, that's worth 25 all of a sudden next year.
Yeah.
So what a place to be. I think right now, like if you aren't making money in this hobby right now, you need to identify a strategy for yourself.
Yep.
You need to pick your plays. You're going to lose a little bit, but that only means you're actually moving in the right direction, because now you're streamlining your approach. So
exactly. Sometimes you got to move backwards or just get out of it just to move forward. Sometimes I tell people all the time. Sometimes, like I moved the car today, broke even on it just to move forward. And sometimes you have to do those things in order to become successful in this hobby. It doesn't get talked about enough, but I think it's definitely important. The other aspect I really wanted to talk about is the PWCC vault. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time left with you, but I really want to kind of get some identify some short scenarios, right, before the new consumers that are out there, of ways to become successful using your tools that PWCC has to offer. Can you give us a little brief, something brief about that?
Sure. And I'll say this, long before I worked at PWCC, I was a customer, and I've known people in this hobby for a long time that utilize their service, as well as there are a lot of other good services out there in the marketplace too. So, we need to keep innovating as a hobby in general. But if you're at PWCC and you utilize some of the many features, and really PWCC at this point in time is a software company. I mean, we've got the software platform after the break from eBay that is, it's really impressive. It's only getting better. I'm there every day in the trenches, and I see the work that's being done. It's really, really impressive. And that whole shout out to that development team. If I'm shouting at anybody, I'm not shouting out car guys right now. I'm shouting out software developers.
There you go.
Hey man, shout out who you want, man. Say hello to your mom if you want to, man. It don't really matter.
My mom made it.
What's up, Mom? What's up, Mom? Okay, I already said what's up to Michael Vick, the developers, my mom, and Paul Wall. I think I'm covered at this point in time.
So. Marcus Vick too.
And Marcus. But if you want to get involved in this hobby, and I told Raphael this, I mean, when I first met him and offline, we're just bringing it to light, is that I said, here's what you want to do is you want to make plays, you need to have some liquidity. And what's great about PWCC is with their vault lending service, you can put in an asset that you have, and you can take a loan to ratio value on it, depending on the asset type. And then that can, it's used as collateral within the vault. You can access it and see it anytime, obviously on your handheld or your smartphone, your computer. And so what you do is you can become liquid in the market again. And so let's say I have a 2008, 2009 LeBron James red refractor BGS 9.5. Yeah. I put it in the vault, and let's say they give me a loan to ratio of I'm just going to take round numbers of 50%. Let's say the thing's worth $500,000. I now have $250,000 in liquidity that I can go and make plays in the marketplace on. Let's say I buy 10, 12, 15 different assets, and with those assets, and there's a loan note each month you pay on that, but it's a small percentage. We really don't make any money on it. More of it's to bring people in the marketplace and to allow them to have liquidity in the market. And you go then and you buy 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20, 15 different items. You sell them over the course of 3 months. You pay off that vault loan. You make $50,000 net after fees as well. Well, there you go. You just now made $50,000 over 3 months. You have your asset. If it's a great, it's appreciated, I'm sure. I'm sure also you're getting calls from the sales team constantly to sell it. So, you get those phone calls. But that's, to me, one of the coolest features of the vault marketplace, amongst the many things that we have, is that we believe in this and they believe in this long before Justin Wickheiser's been there in this hobby, and the realness of this alternative asset. And, people get liquid and they go in the hobby and they make plays. So thanks for bringing it up. I mean, I think I don't know if I would have covered that particularly here on this with you guys right now, but to me, that's just such a key for people that want to do this full time. And Raphael's living the dream. He's actually doing this, something he loves full time. So,
Hey, Ralph, I didn't know that you invited the PWCC repo man to the show, man.
Repossessing national treasures, baby, across the world.
Hey, listen, I'm a nice human being. There's way scarier people that could come and repossess. That wouldn't be me. So, I'd probably do everything I could to make sure you got the asset back and you could keep it under your pillow at night, like where I keep my slabs. But no. I mean, honestly, I don't even think those situations have ever occurred. I could be wrong about that, but especially over the last few years, as everything's totally appreciated. But that's where you have to be smart. That's where you have to be smart and make smart strategic decisions. So I think one of you said that earlier, if you're just going to go and buy a bunch of wax and think you're going to hit these grails, that's not a smart investment strategy.
Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
I told a buddy of mine. So there was a card that Raphael showed me. I think it was a gold refractor of LeBron James, right? And my buddy from the Philippines, he's a big jersey numbered LeBron collector, right? So anything jersey numbered of LeBron, he'll buy it, right? And actually, I have like 100 jersey numbered LeBron cards that I have to grade for him. And when I asked Ralph how much is the card, right? He was like 25 grand. So I hit my buddy up in the Philippines and I go, hey, what do you think? 25 grand? He was like, man, that's a lot of money for that card. And granted, this guy has a complete exquisite set from 03, 04, 05, all the years, base and rookies, right? So he's sitting on a LeBron out of 23 exquisite, right? What, the last one sold for like $3-4 million bucks. And then he goes, 25 grand, that's too much, right, for a LeBron card. And I'm like, dude, like you're sitting on who knows how much, in cards, and 25 grand's a whole bunch of money, man. So it's interesting, the kind of conversations. But again, I take you back to
because he doesn't want to sell
cards at that time.
Same way. I was telling Raph, I got a lot of money up in my closet. I don't want to sell any of them either. I get the mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like if you were buying cards at that time, right, and at that time you were setting records, right, because that card, he told me he bought his out of 23 for $12,000 back in like 06, right, 12 grand.
Gosh,
and at that time, it was unheard of a card like a mainstream card like that to sell for $12,000. Of course, you heard the mantles, right, the 52 mantles graded really high, and you heard about the Honus Wagners, right, when they came about. They were selling really high, but whoever thought that a LeBron James rookie card would have sold for $10,000, $12,000 at that time? And now it's selling for millions of dollars, right? And so, like me, him, we're stuck in that mindset that says, man, that's a lot of money for a card, right? Even though he has closets and closets full of these things.
Wow.
Well, let him know I'm down to trade some cards that, are lesser value for some of those exquisite. I'm just saying.
There you go.
Whatever makes it feel better.
Look, man, he has. If you ever have a chance, check out his Instagram if you haven't already. And every week he'll post a card, he'll post a set, and he's already told me if this grading experience goes good on grading a complete set, because he wants to build his PSA registry, he's sending me every year. So I would get to have every year complete set in my hand to send off to grading, man. So, but some of them are going to require flights, because I don't know if I could sleep at night if FedEx accidentally misplaced or it got caught up in Memphis and it should have went to California. Raphael knows some of them stories, man. And I don't know. I mean, I would throw up if that would happen.
Well,
Yeah, I'm a fanboy. I'm not a fanboy of many people, but I'm a fanboy of Exquisite Collector. There's no doubt about it. I got that whole page memorized. So,
there you go.
I'll be sitting in bed at night kind of looking at that and some eBay listings or some other listings on the platform. My wife will say, "What are you staring at on your phone?" And I'm like, she's like, "Just cards, I'm like, "Just cards, baby. That's it."
All right. Well, I guess we're at the part of this segment. We have about 10 minutes before the end of the show. We usually typically ask, the people that are watching that ask questions, but we're going to try something different. We're going to try, Justin, if you're open to it. Well, I ain't going to say if you're open to it. You're on the show. You're definitely going to be on it. There's no choice to it. You're going to be a part of it. We're going to introduce a new segment of the show called The Hot Seat. So, welcome to the Hot Seat. We're going to ask you 20 questions. You answer them as fast as possible. We're supposed to time this, or are we just kind of going to go ahead?
I don't know, man. This is the first go around. He's the pilot.
Let's go.
This is the first time we've done this. We're going to ask you some questions. You want to start off with it, Mark? Or what you want to do?
We're going to go back and forth, right?
We're going to go back and forth. All right, you ready?
I see your questions and I see mine. Okay.
Okay, want me to go first?
All right, so you're a T-Rex. So Brady or Montana?
Brady.
Hold your cards or vault them?
Vault them. Then you got then you basically got an NFT because you can look at the card on the phone. Okay, so there you go.
Okay, go.
Basketball, football, baseball, or other?
Basketball.
LeBron Exquisite RPA or Jordan 86 Flair?
LeBron Exquisite RPA.
Collector or seller?
Collector.
PSA or Beckett?
Ooh, you guys are not going to like this one. Beckett.
Oh, wow. All right, better team captain, Durant or LeBron?
Great. I got to qualify that. I like the subgrades, always have, but
yeah, I do too.
If
PSA had a subgrades, they'd blow everyone out the water.
Out the water, easily.
And the black label, game changer. I'd never send anything there again.
100%.
Better all-star team captain, Durant or LeBron?
Durant.
Football or F1?
Oh, dude, that one's hard because I'm starting to like F1 a little bit for a minute. Especially
these aren't supposed to be easy.
Oh, man. Like I'm getting into F1, man, but football. We'll go football. I gotta stay true.
And I think I know the answer to this after talking to you. Vintage or modern?
I like vintage, man.
All right, Mike Trout or Mike Piazza?
Oh man, hard one too, because I'll tell you, in 15-16 in Atlantic City, Golden had an auction, and they had that Piazza. After 9/11 batting helmet with the pine tar on it, and he auctioned off. Oh my gosh! And with the American flag on the back, that thing was so dope.
Yep.
I don't know if I've ever seen any cooler memorabilia. I'm going Piazza, man. Sorry.
There you go.
Exquisite or National Treasures?
Exquisite. How dare you ask me that question?
All right. Topps Chrome Super Refractor or Prism Black?
Topps Chrome Super Refractor.
There you go.
Fanatics, good for the hobby or bad?
Change is, I think, always good in everything, so it's good.
All right. What's one place you will never want to visit for a card show?
Bangladesh, India. Bangladesh. Yeah, I think that's right.
Fire.
Buy market or sell market?
What's that?
Buy market or sell market?
Oh man, that's like not when you can answer yes or no. But buy, for me, it's always buy everything. So,
if you could not collect sports cards, what would you collect?
Oh, that's easy. Vintage or historical letters.
Okay,
that's a good one.
Well, favorite. Do you have any cuts or any old letters?
Yeah, I own a Pistol Pete Maravich letter that was written a week before he died. So Pistol Pete, the GOAT, the greatest college player of all time. His career was only 5 years long.
Now Lou Alcindor?
What's that?
Not Lou Alcindor?
No, Lou Alcindor's dope too, but Pistol Pete, man, didn't even play with a 3-point line. The guy almost averaged 50 clips a game. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
Favorite vacation spot?
Rome, Italy.
Oh, wow.
Do you believe in an NFT market?
I believe in the blockchain. think the blockchain is going to change everything in terms of the way that we conduct business, transactions, etc. I like NFTs, but I believe the blockchain is going to change.
But
Okay.
you can't grade a blockchain, man.
No, you can't grade a blockchain, but you can do some crazy transactional stuff on there. So, that may be the next step in that market.
Yeah, I think Marty from the Ozark would like blockchains.
Oh man, y'all crazy.
That's
I
it.
tell you, get some gems on here every now and then. We got PWCC repo, man, and we just got an Ozark plug.
Was that your last one?
That was my last one.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Do you believe we will ever see our first major international sports card show?
Oh, I think that's probably right around the corner. Absolutely. I think that's right around the corner. I think that you'll see it probably in somewhere in the UK is my guess, but man, we are not far. We are not far from that. Absolutely.
There you go. Culture Collision UK, baby. We're coming. Let's go. Let's go.
That's it.
That's
That's
20.
it. That wasn't that bad.
Man, I feel like Pac after the first couple of times he got shot. I'm like kind of rolling out of the hospital with my middle finger in the air. That was easy, man.
Oh, he said that was easy. We got to come with it next time, man. All right. Well, you know what? That was our first time doing that segment, and you did a great job, Justin. We appreciate you so much for joining us today.
Man, that was cool, guys. Thanks for letting me be a part of this. Appreciate you. Nice to meet you, Mark. And Culture Collision will be there. As a matter of fact, I fly out tomorrow. Excited to participate in it, be in the ATL. And what's super cool is that I think it's really innovative and neat, Raphael, that you put together this basketball tournament with inside the event, because truly, like, that's what we need more of, is actually blending these experiences with the events. And listen, I'm willing to blow out an ACL for you in this thing. I'm going to go as hard as I can to make this as enjoyable.
There you go. Any predictions on who's going to win the tournament tomorrow? This weekend.
Well, your game plan worked, because I was actually here. I'm here at the gym right now. I was about to put up 100, 200 shots, get ready.
You're going to go piece of feet in the gym today.
Are we showing? Are you going to show off your sneakers this time?
I won't show them. Yours win. Those are nice, man. I like it. Mine are Avias from 1994, but they still work though.
There you go, man. These will be worn by Prism God in the tournament this weekend. So just
I think you'll have a live concert DJ at the next Culture Collision, man. Is T.I. going to grace his present at the ATL Culture Collision show next year?
You know what? I can't be held accountable for anybody that comes to the show, but we welcome everyone. It's an Atlanta show, so we want everybody from Atlanta to come out. So anybody's more than welcome. So thank you.
Man, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Bye-bye.
You guys have a good evening. We're out.